Hey everybody, welcome back to the Billy Club where we take a look at the adventures of Marvel's Wait, but we're not going to be looking at any comics today.
No, we're
No,
gonna be
no,
looking
no.
at shows.
Shows and maybe like semi miniseries movie events, right? Like some kind of
Wow.
thing. So, I am
Yes.
of course Nico. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION.
And I'm Tori Sheehan. You can find me on Twitter at Tori_Sheehan and on Instagram at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I, as these lovely words are saying. You can also find us at the Billy Club Pod on all your socials.
And we are over the fucking moon today to talk about what we're here to talk about. So, we're doing this holistic look at Daredevil starting way back in the Wayback Machine, and it's really been exciting because my first comics ever were The Man Without Fear 1 through 5 by John Romita Jr. and Frank Miller. And I'm so excited that someday we're inherently going to talk about those comics. But Tori, it really wasn't until this weekend that I felt like someone finally said the way she got into Daredevil matters again.
Yes. Yes, because at good old San Diego ComicCon, they decided to throw a little Daredevil into the She-Hulk teaser, and there's a yellow suit. Nico, your favorite suit is back.
My favorite suit, it's not the best suit, but it's my suit. It's the one that I'm clearly the most attached to by far. It's there's something about the fact that so many superheroes wear yellow in a way that I really like. Sometimes I think about the fact that Sinestro kind of looks like Charlie Brown, and I see how yellow can go horribly wrong on a superhero. But these little glimpses we have from the She-Hulk trailer, I think about the fact that yellow suit Daredevil is yellow in a way that maybe isn't attractive by today's standards, but like I'm really seeing some things here that look right.
Yeah, it's definitely that darker golden yellow that we've been talking about liking a lot.
Yeah.
It feels dirty, it feels heavy, it feels like a brawler. And I'm
Yes.
very excited about that for
And
sure.
it's so cool because something we've always said is that like the mystique of Daredevil maybe a little bit lies in the fact that he's not the most masculine character. He's not like the maliest male. Don't get me wrong. I love that he's, a hot super dude, but there's something so feminine about a lot of the portrayal of his character and how many of the women in his life are like strong like a man. And so
Mhm.
having him return to Marvel television through She-Hulk has my heart.
Yeah, because if there's anyone who's strong like man, it's She-Hulk.
Yeah, and she really okay, not to be that guy about this trailer, but this was literally my favorite Marvel TV trailer of all time.
It's so good. It's so exciting. As someone who doesn't know that much about She-Hulk, I was really interested in what we're gonna get through this.
It is such a beautiful show, and it shows the powerful dynamic of what like sort of Daredevil and She-Hulk both represent the opposite spectrum of. Something that's really interesting is the way that people often compare She-Hulk to Deadpool or Howard the Duck for their ability to break the fourth wall.
Oh, that
That's
happened.
what
I saw that.
and she does, yeah, and she does it in the trailer, and it made me so happy. And then I really like that element of her character a lot. So I was really concerned that might be lacking here in a world where the concern is usually driving up the Deadpool engagement. But I feel like there's so many things that this is such an important moment for like women in Marvel. I'm so here for it.
So can you walk me through a little bit of like when She-Hulk met Daredevil, when Matt met our lovely attorney at law?
So that's a really great question, and I wish I had specific dates and numbers for you. What I will say that I can tell you is I want to start a little bit further back in the Wayback
Ooh.
Machine, and I want to start in good old like 1978, 1979, 1980, and a guy named Stan Lee decides he's going to do just one more thing at Marvel. I mean, I don't think he ever thought he was really leaving, but he does the Savage She-Hulk #1 and the Savage She-Hulk #1. It introduces us to She-Hulk, and one of the great things about She-Hulk is that she maybe starts a little bit like Savage and a little bit like me angry, me punch stuff, but she ultimately becomes a hyper intelligent, complicated, nuanced person as She-Hulk. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of writers bounce back and forth on that, and you can find out a little bit more about that on this show's partner program, X's for Podcast, where on Fridays we've been taking a deep dive into Jason Aaron's Avengers lore, which involves a lot of She-Hulk for sure, but we get the overwhelming sense that She-Hulk should be fun. And because She-Hulk is the fun lawyer and Matt is the drowning in darkness lawyer, they've met up through the years, but it always kind of involves somebody's story not quite being them, like that time Ally McBeal and the Practice met.
I see.
Yeah. And, they're both sort of like whenever Avengers. She-Hulk has been on the team since 2018, pretty steadily. She currently has a miniseries, which is very exciting, and I am always a big fan of the character. She's had a pretty tumultuous publishing history. One of the mistakes they frequently make is they try and make her cousin.
That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Because he already exists.
And I don't know, like, I don't need even what Hulk represents in a lot of ways. Like, to be on, that's such terrific She-Hulk. I want to say that that's from the Charles Soule and Javier Pulido sort of era of She-Hulk. And it was such a great time because Matt was already coming back in this really exciting way under Mark Waid's pen. Shortly after this, Charles Soule would write Daredevil. So it makes, a lot of sense that a lawyer who wrote Daredevil would also write She-Hulk. So there's a lot of interplay on these two characters.
Nice. I'm just so excited. I'm hoping that we get Charlie Cox as the lawyer as well as the Man in Red. I'm hoping to see more legal drama between them.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's going to be a really great time.
And I think one of the things that I'm most excited for is I feel like we have had shows about women in Marvel, and we've had shows about superheroes at Marvel, but I don't really know that I've gotten the female superhero experience from Marvel yet. I've gotten a number of movies. Hawkeye was really about both Hawkeyes, but for me, I want the female superhero experience, not the female experience, the superhero experience, and you don't really get that balance. It just still feels like until this, women have been treated second class on Marvel TV.
Yeah, it's hard because like Jessica Jones never really got the spandexy moment.
Yeah.
And everyone else is sort of already the superhero by the time we meet them.
Truly. And, I don't know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't count as canon. I'm not here to qualify another program. You know what I mean? But I will say that the questionable or at least dubious nature of its current canon standings affect how I see the treatment of Daisy's story. It was really hard for me to come around on Skye being Daisy. That was a really hard thing for me at the time. But if She-Hulk can come due on a lot of the promise that Marvel women have always held in potential, I'll be really positive on the experience.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this builds with, what Ms. Marvel does. Like, I'm excited for the next gen of all of them. Oh, it's a little She-Hulk.
It's the current gen.
Ooh.
So, this wasn't the only major announcement we got at SDCC, and I thought one of the things that made the kind of quality of the She-Hulk announcement maybe a little bit less exceptional was just before the She-Hulk announcement, a day or two earlier, we had gotten an announcement that Charlie Cox would be returning to Marvel in some capacity, but in the form of Daredevil in Spider-Man freshman year.
Yes. I'm so fascinated by this because I sort of forgot that we were getting it. and
Yeah.
forgot that we're finally getting the Spider-Man origin story of Tom Holland.
Uh,
And
yeah.
I'm so excited that we get a Daredevil in a very interesting suit.
Yeah, this is a little bit Shadowlandsier. This is a little bit more DG Chichester and Scotty McDaniels in 1993 doing Over the Edge. This is a little bit more post Fall from Grace meets Shadowland meets the Charles Soule era. I'm no fan of putting him in black. I prefer putting him in yellow. So I
I'm
do
a
love
red
the
girl.
Simpsons coloration on his face here.
I'm just so fascinated though because this would be taking place between the end of the Daredevil series and before we see him in the Spider-Man movies. So like he's going to go from the Man in Black, then he goes to red, then he goes to this, and then he goes to yellow.
Yeah, because the events of Daredevil, if all things being what they are, if the events of Daredevil take place where the events of Daredevil take place, they take place shortly after the events of Avengers the film. But Tommy Holly's Spidey doesn't start swinging the underoos until Civil War, which follows Age of Ultron. So one of the things that producer extraordinaire Kevo points out is that they've said that in the show, Norman Osborn is going to be Peter's mentor, and our Tommy Holly had no relationship with Crazy Normie when he appeared in No Way Home. So,
Yeah, there's
you know
no
what?
Osborn in Tommy Hollyland.
No, in Tommy Hollywood, we don't have Osborns. We have
Starks.
um Starks. Yeah, okay.
We have
I
Starks and we have Pims, but we don't have Fantastics.
I'm a little concerned that this means we're not getting a Daredevil animated series ever in the course of our lifetimes.
They could spin off.
I'd hope. I'm a little. We have one more major announcement to get to, and when we get to it, I'll have a lot of feelings on it. But and good ones. But I have some concerns that we never really got that Daredevil animated video game sequence thing that we should have gotten from there was going to be a GBA game, and so we should have gotten some little animations to play in the game, little VGA screen stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that you just compared Stark and Osborn is really exemplified in the image on the screen where we see Norman interacting as Tony. So if this is an alternate universe, I would like to think it's one of the ones that will maybe come into play with all of the multiversity that's going on.
Do we think that this kind of Spider-Man slash Daredevil world is going to connect to the multi into the Spider-Verse world?
I hope. And part of what makes me really excited is if you take a look at the villains, a lot of the villains are schlocky. They're not your Carnages. They're not your major our producer extraordinaire. They're, don't get me wrong, Doc Ock, Lizard, these are names, these are, legitimate characters. Got some chameleon in there, I guess. But for me, I'm really focusing on the fact that this feels Spidey ageless in an exciting way, and it doesn't feel like it's trying to cover what the films might cover. So that gives me hope that this could be an opportunity to introduce these characters so that these characters could appear in Spider-Verse, and we don't have to worry about, oh, well, these won't appear in Spider-Verse because they'll save that one for the MCU.
Right. Exactly. Hmm. Lot to
Hmm.
think about there. Lot to think about.
I also just want to say that I love that the art looks like Daria. I
Hmm.
really really love that because it captures some of the teenage humor. It really gives me I mean, not to be too specific, but I mean, I see Jane, I see Jody, I see
Hmm.
Mac, I see a lot of characters. But I do need to give it up for the fact that Amadeus Cho is there, and I am well regarded for my love of Amadeus Cho and a certain young man who contributes to XI for P, who may just happen to be everyone's famous little Amadeus Chojo. So you guys should all definitely check out some of the amazing coverage we've done of Amadeus Cho and a number of these characters on this page over in the world of X's for Podcast. I also just want to say how great it is to see so many Black Panther characters on the screen. It really says that, Wakanda Forever isn't the end. And that makes me very excited.
Yeah, super amped about that. So, Nico, what else happened at San Diego Comic Con this weekend? What else was announced?
What I thought was the plot of Daredevil season 3, but I guess not. Okay. I thought this already happened, but I guess not.
Mm.
So, uh, Senor Chuck Cox comes out, and we find out we're getting this motherfucker. Daredevil Born Again is being produced by Marvel Studios for Disney Plus. It's going to run in 2024, and it's going to contain 18 episodes,
Which is
which
huge.
that's like so many
Almost,
more than the fucking
it's
comic.
almost double than what the other episode series have been getting.
And if you stretch every issue that you could kind of throw into Born Again into it, it's like 9 issues at the most. So, this whole idea that we're getting an 18 episode run of Born Again makes me think that this is going to be more than just Born Again. I'm hoping for some Born Again with some Elektra Assassin, with some Daredevil Love and War, with some Ann Nesenti, with. So, I mean, I can't stop. Like, I want all the things.
I want Typhoid Mary to come in and blow our brains out.
Just
Like,
not that Mary wasn't good in Iron Fist, but that was not my typhoid.
yeah.
Um, I have some interesting feelings about the fact that they've only announced 2 returning cast members.
Might be that they haven't locked anybody else in yet.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
Because not to say, but to say, I'm not so sure, besides maybe Rosario Dawson, that the others are doing something so important that they couldn't take a little timesy offsy to come do this. But
And yeah, 1,000%.
so, but I would love to have them all back personally.
I would love it if it really followed the like kind of through line of what Born Again could represent, where we could just see all the other heroes from the Defenders. Where Matt has disappeared, Iron Fist is filling in. And by Iron Fist, of course, I mean Colleen Wing. So I want to see this clever exploration of what Born Again could be. But at the moment, we only have Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox locked in. And considering those are the 2 actors that have already appeared in the MCU, I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for Foggy and for Karen to appear in She-Hulk, in Echo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right, because it's highly possible he may show up in Echo too.
Knowing that Echo was originally a Daredevil character, she made her first appearance in Daredevil Volume 2, number 9, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, of course, the David Mack arc, which runs an unbelievable amount of time. It's like 10 issues that takes like 3 years to come out. And that kind of, it was just nonstop delays. And he's a painter and he does a lot of covers. And when you like, and I don't mean this about anybody, but like that's one of the things about boutique runs, when you're like, oh, we've put this amazing person on this book and no one will ever, oh my god, you have to remember that that's still David Mack, number 1 most in demand cover painter. That's still David Mack, guy who's got his own series Kabuki, and he makes all the money off of a copy of Kabuki, not just what you pay him to do Daredevil pages. So, and it was, I think, his first major work ever. I believe the legend is Like somebody brought him in and showed Joe Quesada his thesis from art school, which was his comic Kabuki,
Mhm.
and it got him the job. Like so young, so new. He would ultimately go on to contribute repeatedly to Daredevil over the years, but it definitely was a thing where Daredevil lost a lot of steam because of that. And I'm a little concerned, parallel, that there could be some lost steam in regard to this Disney Plus series. It'll have been like 5 years between seasons of Daredevil, and I just don't know how many people really, are going to make the leap from one show about the same thing. And it's like when I think about Echo, right? And how long it took for her story to come out. Sometimes I'm worried that my precious Maya didn't make it big the way I wanted her to because of how delayed that story was.
I would agree. I will say that the Daredevil fans have been vocal but smart for a very long time about this. And I feel like a lot of their pressure has made it so that people are like, all right, like let's do this thing, you know?
A
And
thousand percent.
I think it helps that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are very interested in these characters and really want to see them go places and are making the time for this. So to me, it's a culmination of everything that fans have been asking for and begging for, and I'm really interested to see what they do with 18 episodes, which is basically almost a real season. And that's not something
Yeah.
that we've seen out of the Disney Plus Marvel series as yet. And I'll be interested to see if they break it up. Like it'll be six, you get 6 episodes and then a couple weeks off, and then 6 episodes and a couple weeks off. Like if we get a couple of arcs. Um, but I think that if this goes well, we could see more longer seasons come for projects. We could see more
Oh yeah.
from the Defenders line. I think a lot of people would be interested in more Jessica Jones. So I would be very interested to see how much of the current run of Daredevil and whatever they're calling the arc right now, where Fisk lost the mayorship, and it's happening right now, and my brain is literally falling apart.
Devil's Reign.
Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
To see if how much that influences.
Devil's Reign really changed everything for, I hope, good. There's some other stuff going on parallel where like the Punisher is now like an actual supervillain
Mm-hmm.
and like actually works for the death cult of the Hand, actually serves the Beast as his dark messenger, like that the Beast. It like they're doing some crazy stuff, and Elektra and Daredevil are both Daredevil now. So you've got this dual, and like everybody recognizes that that is Elektra Daredevil, and like she's a little bit more violent than he is, and she has these really cool changes to what you might expect from her, where she's blunted her blades and now uses like billy club ropes coming out of the center of her size, so she won't use lethal force. And they've done so many things that make Daredevil in the comics brave and bold. And I have to wonder how much of that is so that the TV shows have these brave, bold new ideas to source from.
Mm-hmm. I'd be very interested to see that. I have this niggling thought that the term that we may not actually get born again. That it
Hmm.
might just be a reference to it coming back, and that we're going to get maybe tinges of it or things, but that it's
Maybe
going to
mixed.
be a
Yeah.
lot, almost negligible how much they're going to put of born again into it.
Because they already did it. I mean, they already did it. And I am of the mindset that Secret Origins and identities have become kind of passe. I don't
Yeah.
really think that's where stories are at anymore. And when they are, it's because they're trying to protect a child. But the last thing we need is a lawyer getting violent justice at night on the streets. Like, that's why Punisher is bad, because cops shouldn't just go out beating people. Lawyers shouldn't either, even if lawyers tend to be on fewer steroids. And that's, I think, a major shift that we're going to need to see. And it's because of the success of Daredevil, the TV show, that we're even able to have these conversations, because for years, Daredevil was a dying thing. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I would tell you all the time, but I'm like, I don't know why everybody's so interested in it all of a sudden. It was just me and three other people on the internet, and I'm so thrilled that everyone is so interested in Daredevil all of a sudden. But like, I would hear people say stuff like, "There's no bad run of Daredevil."
I have a few thoughts. But like at the same time, like I think it's really interesting. The first time that we tried to launch this, it was right when they announced the omnibus of the old stuff. And now that we're
Mm-hmm.
actually doing it, they're like, wait, let's give you some actual footage with the yellow suit. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh, see, this is why I wanted to do this, Nico. This is why I didn't want to start with Frank Miller.
yeah, and you're right. You were right, and I'll say this much: I never thought I'd see the day where I would get the yellow suit, and I would get it with She-Hulk, and I would get this real sense that we are there's an optimism, right? And I don't think you're wrong about what you're saying, but like they don't have another omnibus scheduled except reprints of the Miller stuff right now. And I think that has to do with Born Again, the name, and knowing they can sell it. Um,
And
but
also,
I,
a lot of that stuff is not should not be printed ever again.
and I think what we're gonna get is when Born Again runs, we'll get Daredevil Volume 2. And I think that this is a change moment. I don't think that with all the other announcements they made that they're just going to leave Daredevil to languish. I think he's going to show up in fucking Secret Wars. I think he's going to show up in fucking Kang, my love.
Kang.com.
Kang.
Kang.com / Cassie Lang.
If you need somebody to help you with figuring out like what am I good at? Like audio software, Kang, baby,
Is
I'm
that
here.
all you're good at?
I don't know, but I don't want
Does he
Kang
need
to
a
get any
theme
violent
song?
ideas.
Does he need
Oh,
a theme
Kang, I'm
song?
sure needs a theme song, and I'm sure it's just like Kang conquered your face, and that's the whole song. Um, I'm not like a huge Kang fanboy, but the idea that Kang is going to come and destroy the universe by unhinging time, you can ask producer Kevo when they were like, "It's going to be Thanos." I was like, "Boo, Kang! I want Kang! Boo!" And so I've been waiting since the end of Avengers 1 for Kang. I
Well,
I've been waiting for this for like a decade.
I mean, they're giving it to you. They're giving it to you all over.
And I couldn't be more excited because part of it is I think there's things that we can kind of eliminate from stories. I don't think we really need the Beyonder to play the same role the Beyonder played in Secret Wars. I think we can kind of update that. We can even do the Hickman Secret Wars from much later, which runs right around the Charles Soule Daredevil sort of. So, um, for me, I think that these films are going to feature Charlie Cox. I think we're going to see the big D's up on the screen, and I would really like to think that we're going to see it with a D and an E. I would like to think that Elektra's going to come back. I think Deborah Allen Wall was perfect. I mean, you and I would literally sob over how much we fell in love with Karen, and nobody could be Deborah Allen Wall but Deborah Allen Wall. No offense to any number of brilliant actresses who deserve roles and could bring something to a project, but she was Karen, man.
Yeah. She brought such light and such joy and such depth to a character who was going through the paces of what can only be described as 60s bullshit in the
Yeah.
comics. And so I think it's just it would be a shame to have it without her, but I also understand that there are many years of Daredevil without Karen.
Yeah, I just don't think we're gonna get Natasha.
No.
So I do need
There's what, four other fiancés?
Heather, Mila.
What about
You
that
know,
cute DA he was seeing for a while?
okay, Kirsten, she can come DM me. She can come DA me anytime she needs. She can just slide through my DMs. She is like one of the hottest comic book characters ever created, bar none.
Yeah.
Uh, woof. And then okay, this is the only way Foggy's ever been likable.
This is true. This is very, very true. It's deeply upsetting to go back to the comics once you've had this Foggy.
So my big question is I don't believe you should recast Stick. I don't believe you should recast Foggy or just about anybody. And as much as Ben Urich is one of my all-time favorite characters, the performance we got was so flawless. Ben should not come back either.
Well,
You could
he's
introduce
very
Phil.
dead.
I mean, you could introduce Phil Urich, but I don't want them to recast Ben in any way.
And
Um,
of course, we got to get our owl back.
oh my God, he was so perfect. My concern is Elodie Young not being Greek or Japanese, such that Elektra could be made more palatable to the culture she frequently showcases an understanding of, or the culture that she is truly of. Is Elodie Young being French Cambodian, which is a minority that deserves to be showcased, just not right for Daredevil as Elektra. I mean, she was perfect as Elektra. I mean, perfect, perfect, perfect. And when people didn't get her performance, I understood it because Elektra is such a multifaceted diamond. It's just what angle are you looking at the light from?
Hmm.
But what do you think? Because I feel like you're a lot more in touch on these things than I am often.
I know that it's a lot harder for people to point fingers at racial, at whitewashing or incorrect casting when it's a person who is also of color. And I think I think it really does depend on how much they push that she's supposed to be Greek or that she's supposed to be or that she should have Japanese roots. Um, it's one of those things that because it's now 2020s and 2000 teens that like there could be French Cambodians who live in Greece
Yeah.
who just
I
like
mean,
moved there when they were young.
especially because Elodie Young's actual life story is that she is a French Cambodian refugee from the revolution. So
Yeah.
truly that's a really spectacular point, and I hope that Marvel doesn't recast her. That story never got finished the way it was supposed to, and it was such a great story, and she did such a terrific job. I'm gonna miss some characters who don't really have a way to come back. The only actor I would pass on, and I mean no disrespect, is that was such an underrealized Bullseye. I'm not here to I'm not here to fuck with it.
We'll never get the bullseye of our dreams.
I just want Lester to be gay and need Matt and
Okay, but what if we get Murdoch?
I would trade like any one of my toes you pick for Mike Murdoch. Because I'm already setting up that I'm going to date Kang. So Kang is just going to put the toe back. So take whichever one you want.
Knock
Hey,
yourself
Kang.
out.
Right? So, Tori, I want to thank you for seeing why I was like, I think we need to talk SDCC.
Oh yeah, no, we had to.
SDCC.
Oh ho ho. And thank you for bringing all the knowledge, and to Kevo for putting all this together like in a hot second. We
Over
look
like
good.
over an hour. It's so terrific. I'm so grateful. And the big question for me is what project has you the most anxious?
Anxious, like excited, or anxious, like
Ready for
ooh,
it. Yeah.
oh,
Like
ready for it. I'm okay. When it comes to Daredevil, it's Born Again. When it
same.
comes to of the three that we discussed, it's She Hulk.
She-Hulk! I'm like
Sorry, not sorry.
sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not
So
sorry. I
excited.
know I'm not gonna, probably not going to see Charlie Cox's arms in She Hulk, but
But I'm with you. I've had my Daredevil moments and I'm so excited for more, but
Mhm.
I'm also so much more ready for a woman to fucking bring it down.
Yes, yes, I'm so
Well,
amped.
until we return to the world of the Billy Club and 616 proper with Daredevils like 16, 17, 18, 19, which features Spider-Man no less.
Mm.
Tori, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
They can find me on Twitter at Tori_Sheehan and on Instagram at SMTori. That's Tori with an I, as you can see. Nico, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nico Action. That's NicoAction. You can also find me all over X's for Podcast, where Tori has made a number of incredible appearances, as well as our phenomenal producer, Kevo. You guys can find that over on Twitter and Instagram at X's for Podcast, as well as at xsforpodcast.com. Additionally, you guys can check out my original work along with this awesome lady and the amazing producer that we have and our art partner, Taryn over at StarlightComics.com, and my original work in the Young Men in Love anthology, recently released, which features incredible industry greats like Joe Glass, Anthony Oliveris, Terry Bloss, Cena Grace. I'm so lucky.
Covered by Kevin Wada. Oof.
Oof, right? And until we return to Hell's Kitchen Skyline, everybody, you know what you got to do?
Gotta stay
Stay
fearless.
fearless. We almost had it.